Who thinks it's gonna run good? Alright, back with the Polaris Predator build. This is a Polaris Predator 500 from 2004. A little recap of last video. We picked this thing up for, what was it? I think it was $800. And I offered the guy $7, and we ended up agreeing at $800. It was missing a couple parts. It's missing the cap right here, the grab bar, the light bulbs, the grips, and what else was missing? The shock in the back is junk. And what else? I think that's pretty much it. And then we ended up finding that the valves were bent in the top end. So these were the valves. The guy said that his friend did the timing on it wrong and bent the valves. So both intake valves were bent pretty bad. So we ordered up some new valves. Those finally came today, but the rest of the parts did not come. So we've got the grips and the valves to add at least, and then we'll have to wait for the rest of it. We've got the shock on order, and then we've got the little cap ordered up. And then what else we have for this thing? The grab bar. So I think the total came to like $1,350 or something, or $1,250 for everything, including all the parts. So I think we got a pretty decent deal, but that was not including the labor that has to go into it. So, you know, I don't know if we got that great of a deal, but we are going to see if this thing starts up today, since we've got the new valves. That was the only thing wrong with the engine that I know of. So it should start up with the new valves, but we will see. We haven't gone through the carburetor yet. We haven't gone through anything else except just tear down the top end and check out those valves, which were bent. But everything else looks good. The cams look good. No wear in the cams. The tensioner was good. The cam chain was good because it was nice and tight. All the bolts and everything looked good. So fingers crossed that just the valves were the problem. We're going to have to re-shim it because I don't think the guy did the correct job on it. So we'll have to re-shim that. But otherwise, we should be able to start this thing up today. And yeah, should be pretty exciting. Alright, we got some new grips for it. Let's just put those on right away and see what those look like. So the best way to put it on, put some spit in there. Get this lubed up here. It should go right on. Alright, that grip is on there. These are Scott grips. Let's get the other one on. Nice and lubed up. Alright, those are on. Put the Scott symbol facing up on both. So those are good to go. Grips are on. Let's start working on the valves next. Alright, so here are the new valves. We got Kibble white valves here. I believe these are intake, hopefully. That would kind of suck if they weren't, but that's what they look like. We have to lap these in. And then they came with valve seals as well. We'll install the new valve seals. But, yeah, these are looking pretty good. I've used these before and they seem to hold up really well. So, I like this brand. And I've heard good things about them. So let's see if they're the same as the other valves here. And it looks like they're the same. So we did in fact order the correct ones. Let's get the head over here and start working on this thing. And they look really good already. The seats But we're gonna lap those in. Just gonna use a little bit of this. And we will do, we'll do this one first. Right here. So get a little bit of the compound here. Dab that. Don't need a whole lot. I'll do this valve first here. That slides perfectly in there. Sometimes they grab, sometimes not. Want to wipe these off. Get the oil off of them. Alright, and that one should be good. Wipe that off here. We'll check it out. And you can see the rougher metal. You can see where the rougher metal is, where it took it off. So that's kind of where the valve is sitting. And that goes all the way around perfectly, so that looks good. Let's see if the seat looks good here. You'll be able to see a color difference. The ring around here, which is consistent. So that looks good. I'll show you guys here. See how that ring is all the way around consistently. Alright, next one coming up. Dab that. Shove that one in there. Now, a lot of people do this process with a drill, but with a drill, what can happen is if you put more pressure on one side of the valve, it wears on the one side of the valve while you're spinning it, and then you get an inconsistent seal. So as this goes down, it will seal on one side properly, but not the other side. And the valves sometimes can turn like that in the engine, and if it's off a little bit on one side, if it turns like this, it'll be off on that side, and you'll get a pretty bad leak. So I like to do the hand tool. You can control it a lot better. See what that one looks like here. And we'll clean off all this with brake cleaner. You can see a nice even pattern all the way around here. So that one's good to go. So that's looking really good. You can see all the way around. Perfect. No blemishes. So that should be a nice tight seal. Alright, we're working on these valve seals in here. I already got one off right there. And this is what they look like. You know what happens is they can get brittle and wear out, and then they let oil through and then your quad smokes. So we'll replace those with new ones right here. Just have to get them out first. Sometimes they're kind of hard to get out, especially when they're this deep in there. There we go. That one came. Alright, let's get the new ones in there. It's a very light touch of oil. Right here. Alright, and then next one. Alright, and then we'll just push those in. Usually I use a socket on here with this. Kind of push it down with the socket. That one's on. Alright, valves are in there. We use the compressor right here, the valve compressor, and compressed them in. Put the pins in, and everything is good to go. Looking good, so now we can get the head back on the quad. Gotta get the cam chain through first. It's not an easy head to get on there. That's on. Let's get everything torqued down now. Alright, torque spec for these are kind of like the YFZ 450. What we're going to do is torque it down first to 22 foot-pounds in a crisscross pattern, and then torque it down to, I think it was 51 foot-pounds, and then leave this torque for 1 minute to allow gasket to seat for proper sealing. Loosen bolts evenly 360 one turn. And then we're going to torque the bolts to 29 foot-pounds, and then from this point tighten the bolts evenly 90 degrees, which is 1/4 turn. Finally tighten another 90 degrees after that. So let's go through that process. We're at 22 foot-pounds right now. Alright, and then we're going to move it up to, what was it, 51 foot-pounds here. Alright, I think that's tight enough. Alright, and then we're going to let it sit for a minute. Alright, it's been a minute. Let's loosen these guys up. Right, now we're going to torque it to 29 foot-pounds now. Crisscross pattern. Alright, and then we're going to go 1/4 turn on each of these, so 90 degrees. So they're already marked with a red dot, so we can see how much we're turning them. And then we're going to go another fourth turn. That is pretty tight. Those are barely moving. Alright, that's tight enough. Alright, we're at top dead center right now. We're going to try to get the cams in. We're going to get these in right now, and then we're going to test for the valves, because the clearances are obviously incorrect, but we can't really tell how to shim them until we get these put in here. So let's get the intake cam in first here. So I'm off a little bit on this one. I think we're good right there. Alright, so we found this picture online. You can see the timing marks right there, and then there's one right there and right there. You can see this one's a little bit above the surface of the head. That one's like perfectly parallel to the surface of the head. And this is the intake, this is the exhaust. And then they tell you to line up the gold chain marks, but you don't have to do that. If you've got the T lined up at the flywheel and these marks lined up, you don't have to line up the gold. You can see the dot is perfectly parallel, surface of the head. There's a dot right there. And then there's a dot right there that's a little bit above the surface of the head. And then there's a dot right there. Cam lobes are pointed away from each other. That's how you know it's correct. All right, valve specs for the intake are 0.006 plus or minus 0.0019 or 0.05 millimeters. And then the exhaust is 0.01 plus or minus 0.0019 or 0.05 millimeters. So the exhausts were perfect. They were at, this one over here was at 0.1, this one over here was at 0.09, and then the intakes, this one was 0. There was no gap in between this one. This one was 0.004, so that one's a little bit off as well. So the intake side was at 0.004 inches, and we need it to be 0.006. So we look at the millimeters, and we're going to go 0.102, which is 0.004 inches, and we're going to subtract that from 0.152, which is 0.006 inches. So we did the math right there. You can see on the calculator. So 0.006 inches minus 0.004 inches is 0.05 millimeters. And we're going to subtract that from the 2.1, which is going to be 2.05 millimeters. So we just need to go down a shim size of 5. So we really don't need to go crazy on this one. So hopefully we can find one that's 2.05 millimeters. And that's kind of how you shim stuff. Hopefully that makes sense. Alright, this one supposedly is 2.05, so let's see. See, it's a little bit small. Let's go up the next size. Doesn't look like we have a 2.1. That might not be good. That's pretty close. That's 2.05. That's 2.04. So we're going to use that one. It's very close. We'll put that back in. Alright, so the one that was zeroed out, which didn't get a feeler gauge in there, the shim is, let's measure that up. That's going to be the 2.1. So same as the other one, yeah. So that's 2.1. We need to go to 0.006. So basically, we just need to add, or subtract, I guess, 0.152, which is 0.006 from 2.1. So let's quick do the math there. 2.1 minus 0.152. So we need a 1.948 shim. You can see the math there. So let's find a shim that matches that. Get the feeler gauge out. You always want to double check the shims. Yeah, see, that's 1.85. So a little bigger than that one. See, this one's at. It's at 1.9. So one more size up and we should be golden. Let's see. That one's a little big. There we go. 1.95 right there, perfect. Alright, let's add that to it. Alright, so valves are perfect. Those are good to go. We're going to come down here and take off the cover right here. I just want to see if that flywheel woodruff key is sheared off, because maybe that's why the valves were bent. And 2004s are kind of known for that. So we'll check it. And this guy had it off once before, he said. There we go. Take a look at the stator. Stator looks good. No metal shavings or anything. And the flywheel. It's kind of hard to tell. It looks like that's on. Alright, we gotta see if the fuel pump's working now that we've got gas in it. So the fuel pump works off the vacuum from the carburetor, so it needs the engine to be spinning to pump out fuel. So let's see if it turns over here, and then we'll try attempting to start it. Alright, we got the battery hooked up. Ooh, neutral light works now. Huh, that wasn't working before. Let's see if it pumps out fuel here. I might not. Probably should turn the gas tank to on here. Getting some fuel. Not a whole lot. But the pump is definitely working. Try to hook that up here. Alright, we got the pipe on. I just put some coolant in the radiator there. Let's check the oil quick before we start it up for a long time. Let's see if there's anything in there. I think we checked it already and there was, yeah, it's like brand new oil. So that's good. Yeah, there's plenty of oil in there. Alright, let's try starting this thing up. Who thinks it's gonna run good? good. Smoking from the pipe here. Not bad. Not bad at all. We've got the coolant draining in there, it looks like. Hopefully that doesn't mean the head gasket's blowing. I think it's just getting air bubbles out of it. But yeah, we can now add everything back onto the quad. We're gonna clean out the airbox. We're gonna have to wait for an air filter to come, because I don't think that's gonna cut it. I'll have to look up what the air filter looks like for these. But yeah, it's coming along. At least it runs. Alright, Airbox is temporarily on here. I have to order up an air filter, I forgot about that. But I oiled up the old foam that was in there and cleaned that out. So let's see if it idles now without the choke on. Yeah, it'll idle with the choke off once it gets warmed up. So, alright, that's awesome. Let's put everything back on it, and then I guess we'll check the coolant and the oil one more time before we take this thing for a ride. We're still waiting on parts, but we can still ride this thing. Alright, just got done cleaning it up a bit with some WD-40, and then I got off all the stickers as well. And all the grime on the plastics I got off. So it's looking pretty nice. For an $800 quad, it shined up pretty good. Not bad at all. So once we get those new parts, we need the plastic piece right there, the air filter, the grab bar, and then a battery, and then the cap right there. This thing's gonna look pretty nice. And I got one light working now. So you can see, turn this on. So one light does work. The other one's missing the bulb, otherwise that would work too. The connections are all there. So at least one of them works, and then the backlight does work as well. It's got the backlight working too. So that's pretty sweet. All right, one more fix I want to do before we ride this thing. The netting on this Nerf bar is broken. So let's try to sew that up and make that look a little bit better. So we've got a needle and thread here. This thing goes straight up through it. It will puncture through there. Ooh, it's tough. Let's see how she runs. Let's get her unloaded here. I ended up cleaning up the carburetor. And what else did I do to this thing? We got the nuts tied up there. And then we cleaned it off, and it's looking pretty good. Also tightened up the chain a little bit. So it should be good to go. Let's get her started up here. And the fan goes all the time, I guess. Alright, let's see what this thing can do. No leaks on it so far that I can see. Everything looked really good. So, fingers crossed it holds up here. I think it will. Seems pretty decent so far. Oil's great now without the choke. That warm up for a bit here. Should start up without the choke on. I need choke a little bit. How much gas do we have in here? We got a little bit of gas. That's without choke right there. Oop. Let her warm up for a bit. Alright, let's see what happens here. Oop. It's springy in the back, I know that. Because the back shock is completely wrecked on this thing. It's like a pogo stick. It's hard to ride with that shock, I can tell you that. It's got good power. really good power. Alright, we're gonna check everything over, make sure nothing's leaking. Did I lose my neutral light? Huh, neutral light stopped working now. No coolant leaking. So far so good. Oh yeah. Take her for a road test. See if we can get through the ditch here. Goes pretty good. I think the front bearings are going a little bit. Uh-oh. Did it run out of gas or something? I didn't have much gas in it. I think we're running out of gas. I forgot to go to the gas station to get gas. Woo! Yeah, she runs good. Alright, check everything, make sure nothing's leaking. Everything looks pretty good. Just a little bit of water leaking on stuff, but nothing else leaking. Everything looks good. Yeah. Oh, the boot came off right there on the carburetor. That's probably why I shut off. So we gotta fix that, but everything else is good. Good to go. Alright, well, first little test drive went pretty well on this thing. We're not gonna ride it anymore until we get the back shock and all the parts for it. Because right now it's pretty sketchy to ride with that shock like that. And then the front wheel bearings are pretty much shot on it too. But yeah, not a bad quad for 800 bucks. The valves seem to do the trick, and it runs really, really well now. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Stay tuned for the next video. And until next time, we are out.